The time has come, it's almost here. Another day on the markets, approach with no fear. The stage is set, all engines go. Welcome to the angle. Let's start the show. Hold on tight, the stage is set. Digging deep with no regret. Red and green bars leading the way. Welcome to the angle. No time to delay. Markets rise and markets fall. Atomcash is ready to answer the call. While the bulls charge hard and the bears dig deep, the angle will keep you on your feet. Hold on tight. Hold on tight, the stage is set. Digging deep with no regret. Red and green bars leading the way. Welcome to the angle. No time to delay. Cashing in on the highs and lows, where the wind of fortune constantly blows. No looking back, keep your eyes on the prize. Fuel the run with a fire that never dies. Hold on tight, the stage is set. Digging deep with no regret. Ready, the stage is set. Digging deep with no regret. Red and green bars leading the way. Welcome to the angle. No time to delay. No time to delay.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the most entertaining, intellectually stimulating financial podcast in the entire world. You're watching the Atomcash Angle, the show that flips the switch and floods the system with straight financial voltage. I'm Adam Cash, and I'm bringing you the firepower your financial life may have been missing. Now, whether you're new to trading or a trading savant, I aim to turn complexity into clarity with a shot of adrenaline. And today, we're already starting off with a very interesting day. We are entering into the Thunderdome, as I like to call it. Tomorrow and Thursday are very big days, as we talked about on the program yesterday, with the Mag 5 reporting, as well as FOMC on the horizon. And we actually just got some news on Microsoft here in the pre-market, a nice big 5% pop or so on this pre-market candle, where they have they have an agreement with OpenAI, where OpenAI is going to purchase I think it's $250 billion of Azure services from Microsoft. So you're getting a little bit of a pop on that news at the moment. So that's obviously going to wash over to the market here and get another pop on the SPY, obviously with Microsoft being one of the biggest components in the SPY along with the other Mag 7 names. As we get into this very, very important week, currently the SPY topped out at 687.24. Now, real quick, before we get into everything, let's take a peek at any sort of catalyst that we could have coming down the pike this week. Today specifically, as we went over the whole week yesterday. So today specifically, the one thing you really want to keep an eye out for is consumer confidence at 10 o'clock. That will obviously have some level of an impact on the market, giving us an idea of how strong the consumer is at this juncture in time. Outside of that, pretty quiet day, all things considered. You do have Visa earnings after hours, but outside of that, nothing too crazy going on. We did have a few earnings pre-market. We had United Health and PayPal were the big ones, as well as UPS. So we'll pull those up real quick in case any of you guys played any of those earnings to take a peek. PayPal is interesting mainly due to they're going to be integrated into ChatGPT, apparently, which is interesting. They're going to be the first payment processors in ChatGPT. Now, that's going to come a year from now. So it's a little hypey. That's going to come a year from now. Peaked out right around my LOI up here, 82.11. As you can see, topped out at 82.50. Came down on that news right now. Still sitting up about 10% on the day. I believe I talked about this one on the program, how important this like double downtrend was. This orange line here that you can see on my chart here on the daily. Let's widen that up a little bit. And getting over that line right here is an important old gap level here at 73.28. So if you are trading PayPal, that's where you're going to want to see it backtest support before getting too excited, at least in my opinion. We'll see how the market opens and handles it. UPS doing really solid here in the pre-market, up 11%, back to that $100-ish area on UPS. Pretty solid. Earnings are at least perceived as bullish, as I like to say. Looking like they're having good international growth at the moment, which, as you can see on my screen as I'm highlighting it here, that's part of the reason why we got some of this decent markup here. Even though revenues came down, the international market seems to be growing for UPS. And any kind of growth with a snail company like this, a legacy company, is going to be perceived pretty bullishly, at least in my summation. But keep an eye on it still. That $100 level is obviously going to be a big psychological level you're going to want to keep an eye on. If for whatever reason it can't get over that into the open, you're going to want to watch this like 95-ish area, high 95s, low 96s, if you are interested in UPS. You can even use this pre-market low, 96.41 into the open. And lastly, and leastly, UNH, again, United Healthcare. This one has been a roller coaster of a ride for quite some time now, actually. A stock that has historically not been very volatile ever since the whole debacle. Has been pretty volatile, which is quite interesting. A lot of people are seeing this still as a deep value buy. A lot of people say it's a little weak. We are, interestingly enough, sitting just above this gap fill, 176.84, and where the 200 MA is on the daily. Currently, that's at 385.79. That pre-market number right now at 379.01. So very close here to the 200 MA on the daily. If that breaks, this could look pretty exciting here in the short term, getting back to the low 500s, high 400s, I should say, rather, to fill or at least test this gap area here, which I have to adjust my lines here because they paid out a dividend. So obviously these aren't as accurate. So that gap starts at 483.29. So after they paid a dividend, these lines change, obviously. So we'll take a peek at that. Maybe there's a trade opportunity there. We'll keep an eye on that into the day. You also saw some nuke names pick up to the upside. Of most of them you want to keep an eye on today is CCJ, getting an investment from the United States, essentially. I believe that was, hold on, let me not talk out my butt here. Make sure, but I'm pretty sure that was the news. Yeah, U.S. government entering an agreement with them to build nuke power plants. Currently up 17% on the news. So if you'd like some nuke exposure, take a peek at CCJ. That was something to keep an eye on. That obviously pushes us to a new all-time high, as would anything, apparently, when the Trump administration's making an investment, it takes off. But you are seeing some sympathy pour over to stocks like Machine Gun, and other names. I highlighted URG on this program. That's a microcap nuke name. But other energy names are getting some hype off of this nice like 17% pump here. If you look at it in the pre-market, solid push, and then kind of grinding to the upside here. I wouldn't necessarily short this. I'm just saying this could be a nice little ride here to the upside, obviously leaving a big gap on the daily, but still something to be interested in. If it backtests, especially that old all-time high, you may like to consider a position there, even a short-term trade. Be mindful, though, that earnings are coming up on the 5th, as you can see on my screen. Can we see pop-ups now? You can't see that, though. Okay. You can see some. When I highlight down here, you can see that at least. So we have earnings coming up on the 5th. For CCJ. So if you are trading it for the momentum, maybe consider shorter time frame. If you're trading it to get that exposure through earnings, obviously maybe pick a little bit, 1 or 2 weeks out past the earnings. So actually maybe consider like November OPEX if that's something that interests you this morning. Good morning to you guys in the chat. Good morning, Hatchet, and good morning, Negum. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are staying safe and keeping your money this week and not losing it to the casino, as some people say, because this week we are just getting into the rigmarole of it all as we continue to make another new all-time high and another gap up, which I love to be bullish. I want the market to go up. I don't want 3 gap ups in a row. I'm not thrilled about that. Getting just complete parabolic moves. If we gap up again after FOMC and gap up again after earnings, we're going to have like 5 gaps in a row, and it's going to be nutty. For the stock market to just simply go parabolic to the upside after the smallest correction and just rocket, which anything's possible, right? So we'll keep a tight eye on the market today. I would prefer that we actually have some level of would have preferred, I should say, some level of an inside day today, being inside of yesterday's candle. But hey, beggars can't be choosers, and who am I to scoff at a green day on the market? So we'll take what we can get. HR dropping the Ayo, and EB in the chat dropping the good morning to you all. Hope you guys are all doing well this morning. Something else I want you guys to be knowledgeable, or at least be aware of this morning. Obviously, you're seeing the Qs pop up due to that Microsoft news. But IWM, again, is kind of lagging behind the market. If you're live in our Discord yesterday, I actually took calls on IWM off of this 249.60 level. That went for about 35%. So if you want to check that out, or if you want those live trade alerts, make sure you pop over to our Discord. The link's in my bio if you want to check that out. But we took these calls at the low of the day, or I should say I took those calls near essentially the low of the day at that key LOI, riding it up to the upside, assuming we'd see some bullishness on the IWM to close. And we also saw that through SPY and the Qs as well. But what I'm noticing here, and what you guys should notice as well, looking at your daily chart, is overall, and I don't want to use the word weakness, but not as much strength on IWM, because it's not weak in the sense of what we look for in general weakness, but it is just simply not as strong as, I mean, look at the charts right now. You look at the Qs and look at IWM. Get 3 green bars gapping, right, versus 1 gap, right, but a red bar and another red bar, and still below this all-time high. Now, what that tells me personally, and obviously there could be some hype baked into this, the Mag 5 reporting, as I'm calling them this week. A lot of big hype going into tech earnings, as is usual. There could be some money flow coming out of the small cap, medium cap names, people looking to make their money on large cap tech, mega cap tech, and rolling it back into Russell 2000. So I'm actually going to go against the grain here a little bit, and I'm interested in a potential swing long on IWM, assuming we can hold this 2 general area. And that would kind of dictate my time frame here. But I'm looking for it to stay above 248.48 and 249.60. So as long as we're above this range here, I'm actually interested in a swing long on IWM. But that is to be seen as the day goes on. That's going to be something I'll probably decide a little bit later, like midday at that point. So that's something that we will look at in our Discord later today for potential opportunity. As we're getting closer to the market open, guys, if you haven't already, do me a quick favor, wherever you're watching from, whether it's YouTube, X, Instagram, Kick, or Twitch, interact with the stream in your favorite way. If you want to say hey in the chat, say hey in the chat. I'd like to say good morning to you guys, interact with you, of course, and we typically have the best shows when you guys are talking in the chat, so if that's your preferred method, feel free to drop a what's up in the chat, or like the stream wherever you are if you're not the talkative type. And if you haven't already, pop on over to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. When we hit 500 subscribers, this will be an everyday show, so if you like the show, you enjoy the content, and you want more of it, all you gotta do is hit that subscribe button. Again, once we get to that 500 number, this will be an everyday show. And if you like that, then that's all you gotta do. And if you're already subscribed, you're already here, I appreciate your support. Thank you for coming to check out the show. Toby dropping the sup guys in the chat. Sup, Toby? Hope you're doing well, my friend. We got about 44 seconds into the market open. SPY's basically gonna open at all-time highs here once again. So unless something dramatic happens in the next 15 seconds or so. Omar dropping the sup boys. Good game, Adam. Yesterday on IWM, picked from the bottom. Yes, sir. You guys know that's how I love to trade. We pick up the things from the bottom. And the market right now is looking like we're going to head into open. We'll play a little tune to start the day.
The market is about to open. It's time to start the day.
And the stock market is open right now. We are at 687.03 as our open price on the SPY right now. Again, opening at all-time highs at the moment, or just near. Technically, it is a new all-time high, but near that pre-market high. So if you are tailing the SPY or you're watching the SPY right now, watch this pre-market high right now in this first 1 minute candle, essentially. At 687.24 to see if we get a reaction or pop, break, and go, which would be preferred. Especially if you are a bull. We basically wicked that pre-market high here and rejected it thus far. I'm getting a ton of alerts. I got a DraftKings alert. I got a UU alert. Got to check everything out here momentarily. Let me just check on my my swings real quick and see if I got to trim anything right at the open. Just babysit my positions. Da, 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 da. Ooh, Pub M got a big push. Let's go. The contracts got a push. The stock did not. That's funny. Peloton contracts around entry once again. Not going to talk about that one. That one's top secret. Got a top secret trade. Looking good, looking good. Something's coming back from that. Okay, interesting open. We'll look at things a little bit later. Marcel dropping the rock on, Marcel. Hope you guys hope you have a great day today. Hope you make some money, some monies. The Qs are pushing the highs here. So again, we're seeing the strength come through on the Qs and not on IWM. In fact, that LOI from yesterday that's currently acting as resistance at 249.60, acting as resistance as the Qs push up. So clear divergence here on IWM and on the Qs conversely. So it's something to keep your eyes on into the open. CCJ, obviously getting off that nuke news. I'm just going to highlight some of these names that we talked about pre-market. Tapped 103.30. Again, if you are interested in playing the momentum on this name, here I'll even set an alert. We're going to look the high of this candle. 97.79. This could just, pop and go. I'll set an alert there just to keep an eye on it. But if that comes down and tests, that's where you could have a decent risk to reward. If you want to take a call pre-earnings off of some of that nuke hype, it is high, right? Ivy's going to be expensive, but you could have a day trade opportunity there. As some people are taking profit, you swing down and could look for a reversal trade there. UNH, watch that 200 MA currently beneath it and at that gap level here, which again, I have to redraw my lines because of the dividend change things up, but we're at that gap level, which is treating it as resistance right now. UPS gapping above its 200 MA, currently wicked beneath it on the open and currently sitting around it. $100 is going to be a very obvious key psychological level there on UPS. You still have this open gap here as well. That gap closes at 99.40, which we officially closed on this current doji looking candle on UPS. PayPal, ooh, look at that. We backtested that orange downtrend. That's what I'm interested in if I want an entry. I should actually put an alert there. So we're going to put an alert there on PayPal as well. So watch PayPal here. If we swing back down, that's the area in which I want to consider a long. IV on those contracts are obviously going to be very expensive as well, so you got to keep that in mind if you are gaining or looking to gain a position there. You see two orange lines here because there are effectively two different downtrends, which aren't displaying as I had them. And you have the 200 MA here on the weekly. So for a good risk to reward trade, I'd want to watch this general area to see if we get interaction there. Open is sitting on that key level of 814, essentially. Getting above this is where you'd get momentum. Staying below this is where you need to get concerned. It's sitting on it. Popped up to 20, shot back down right now. This one's going to be volatile for at least the open. Currently getting some hate right now. And probably rolling in with, IWM there. Firing down to the downside at the moment. So not great on IWM. Talked about Pin Duo a little bit. Down a little bit here at the moment. Those contracts have a pretty, they've got like a dollar spread on those contracts. So watch Pin Duo. I like it over 137.30-ish. Basically like this pre-market high, this general area. Yesterday into the close, this was looking like we were going to see a nice little pop to 140, which is what I'm really looking for here. So watch yesterday's high on Pin Duo and getting a bounce back and a rally here near, or at least I should say close to the open. Intel, look at this candle on Intel. Oh, baby, we're cooking with fire. Intel has some gamma squeeze ability. Now, if you're in our Discord, exclusive trading, which if you haven't already, check out the link in my bio. I actually alerted some Intel calls at $45 Intel swing calls for November that are currently up, whatever they're up. They're at $1.20 right now. I think I got in at $1.50. This has some gamma ramp ability, not only on this week's contracts, not only on the 7th, next week's contracts, but not only on the 14th contracts, but going out to November's expiration, we have strong gamma ramp opportunity here, essentially a squeeze opportunity, and I don't want to say squeeze in terms of short squeeze, but squeezing opportunity from a delta positive or delta hedging exposure here due to how many calls here that could move in the money. Look at these 45s in November. How much is it? Hold on, let's do a quick calculation on that OI. assuming current value, actually, we'll assume yesterday's close, which is like we'll say $1. 100, is that a million something? Right? Oh, that was dumb. I could have just added 0. 11, almost $12 million, if we're assuming a $1 average from yesterday's close, parked at the 21st $45 expiration here on Intel. What I like most about this is that earnings have already passed as well. So we have this gamma ramp opportunity here where once we break over 41, like there are no puts up here. So there's nothing to negatively hedge for. And 40 is the big one to watch because you do have some puts there, and that also pushes these roughly 45,000 calls in the money. Once you get over 41, every whole dollar, you're ramping a decent amount. Once you break 45, this is going to get probably a healthy pop to like 46. And that's where I'm looking for this thing to go here near term. So if the bulls can sustain over like 40-ish, really like 40-25, basically where it is. Because you got to keep in mind when market makers are looking to delta hedge, they need to play the odds of if these contracts are going in or out of the money. And obviously when it's already in the money, they will hedge for them. But it's when, and typically it's halfway between or a little bit more than halfway between the next strike. In this case, it says 50-cent strikes. So if it needs to stay over that 40-25 area to sustain that, the odds of delta hedging being required by market makers to keep this elevated, right? They need to buy the underlying to pump this up in case all those calls are exercised. So this one's very interesting to me at this juncture. United Health selling off. UPS kind of stagnant. PayPal a little stagnant as well. Open stagnant. A lot of, I'm using the word, stagnant names at the moment. Very stagnant. Let's go back to the actual market here. Kind of selling off. Now, keep in mind, even though we're coming down on the market, we were on average around here. So 680, 617-ish prior to that Microsoft pre-market news. So although this looks bearish, although it looks like it's coming down right now, I would just justify this as reverting back to where we were before the Microsoft news, essentially. So really not much of a change, right? And obviously people are going to be taking profits off that news as well. Looking at the Qs, you're seeing some pullback there, really wicking the POC. Actually, Qs looking much stronger than the SPY at this juncture, and without even looking, yep, IWM coming down here. Part of the reason why. We talked about the VIX yesterday. I do want to highlight once again, talking on the VIX. I do anticipate the VIX staying in this like high 15-ish area, like I said yesterday, through the whole week. This is going to be one of those scenarios, at least in my opinion, where the VIX doesn't necessarily relate to the SPY as much. As I like to tell you guys, ooh, I got a luck alert. Ooh, Bolero. For those of you that know me, you know I like this company. Oh, we got earnings coming up. We'll circle back to luck. Stock ticker LUCK. OGs know that one. Real OGs know luck. Anyway, VIX, it's more than likely going to sit in this range this week because we have so many big volatile events. So regardless if the market goes up or down, volatility should remain fairly sticky in this area. Even more so if the market goes up. Don't expect volatility to decay, at least through Thursday, or at least decay to, I should say, a large margin, mainly due to the fact of what the market is anticipating in expectation of FOMC plus these big earnings events. For context, I believe it's 20% of the SPY just in tomorrow and Thursday. For the whole week, I know it's 30% of the SPY and about 32% of the Q's weight. So we got about a third of the stock market reporting this week. Consequently, regardless if the market keeps popping to new all-time highs, volatility is probably going to remain pretty sticky. You could, if you'd like, think or contemplate a volatility long as some level of a hedge. But personally, I wouldn't consider that at this juncture right now. Because assuming things go smoothly, right? Assuming things go well, volatility is going to get killed again. I will also say, though, the VIX does like remaining at least in the high to mid 14s during like Trump's presidency, as I've said before. It likes to float around like this general area, as you can see. I mean, this is the daily chart. If anything, that's where it finds support and bounces up north of that mid 14 area. So it likes to stay in this range to hedge the Trump tweets as we move through every single day. So this is the range VIX likes to stay in. So being marginally elevated from that point makes a lot of sense, at least in my opinion. So we'll see how things go. SPY right now, again, back to this like pre-market level where we were finding some consolidation prior to that news. I'm actually going to... SPY. Let's do that. So I'll give you guys a taste here. I'm going to pick up some of these 688 calls right now, and I picked up some at 39 cents. So I am long the 688 calls at 39 cents here. So we'll keep an eye on that. Basically looking for this pre-market level to hold. If anything, got the 200 MA to catch it here. Quick back up, and probably 680, 649 would be the next point I'd look at. But we should hold this general area, at least for a quick trade here. Quick, nice little 0 DTE here. And at least we're early enough in the day where if we catch a little bit more red here, I have more buffer. So we'll wait and keep an eye on that one and see how that works out. The Qs, look at this. The Qs are very resilient at this point in time, while IWM is very weak. And IWM right now at that second LOI that I highlighted on the daily chart, this 248.48. So this is where I want to consider a swing long on IWM here. I'm not going to open it now. If anything, I'd consider opening at midday. I want more candle action to see how IWM sits. Because again, part of my thesis here is that IWM is going to see a little bit bearish to sideways price action between today and tomorrow. I'm sorry, between today, tomorrow, and Thursday, really. Well, actually, tomorrow it might get a little love because of FOMC, so it might get a little hype there, due to depending on what the Fed does. But this is the range where I'm considering a swing position on IWM. Nice little wick of the 200 MA there on SPY. Really getting dragged down by IWM on this SPY position at the moment of time. Essentially sitting a few shekels short of my entry right now. But assuming that IWM can hold this LOI down here and get some level of a rebound here, we should get to my first price target around this like 680, 650-ish area on the SPY. So a little bit of patience here. We should get what I want. NVIDIA, not too shabby. Kind of rejected a little early from that 195.62 LOI near the high of day there. Google has been a monster, and it continues to be a monster as it reports tomorrow. Very, very interesting setup going into earnings essentially at all-time highs for Google. Microsoft sitting in the middle of that pump range from the pre-market news. I'm anticipating a continuation here very soon, momentarily. Apple looking pretty solid here into the open. Very similar price action on the daily to Google. Both of them, well, Google's tomorrow, Apple's Thursday. So obviously both of them reporting earnings very soon. Tesla, we talked about this yesterday, how if it breaks over that 451 area, you might have a nice little short-term flat top breakout, and you did see that. Now, full transparency, I did not catch the trade. I was asleep at the wheel, so I did not get it. But even yesterday, you got a nice pop up to, the high of day was 460, but when I checked on it was at 455, so it was about 4 or 5 points from what I was looking for on Tesla. Now sitting up near 460, getting above yesterday's high, or just at yesterday's high, for Tesla. So looking really solid here, finding some strength where others are seeing a little bit of weakness. Amazon, not much going on there. And Meta, not much going on there. Putting in a decent daily candle, though, thus far on the day for Meta. Going back to the market, back to the 200 MA, wicking it again. We should see a reversal here pretty soon. IWM catching a little bit of a reversal off that LOY. Need to see a little bit more volume punch up on IWM here. And the Q is basically sitting on POC here. So we'll see in the next like 10-15 minutes. If we don't see some volume come in, then it'll more than likely be a sweat trade, which means it's going to be slow. And I probably want to roll for time at that point. So we will see what will happen then. Let's roll out back to the other names we were watching. Luck, I got a luck alert. Currently trading 805. This is Bolero, or also known as Lucky Strike Entertainment. Got shot to hell here the last few days from $10 down to 8. I'm not long the stock. I have no position in Luck, but I've traded it quite a bit. This is a company that I don't think is going to go anywhere. It carries a little bit of risk. Basically the biggest bowling alley provider, right? It's not an entry for me yet here, and with earnings coming up, that's kind of a crapshoot. I'm interested in this name depending on how their earnings go, and somewhere in this range between the high 6s and like the mid 7s. So looking for a bit more of a discount here on Luck. This is a name that I think can trade back up and really fairly valued, at least in my opinion, somewhere near this like $13 area. So if I can get a solid entry down here in like the mid to low 6-7 area, that gives me at least like 100% upside on equity. But the one you're going to have to be patient for. It's in a bear trend on the weekly. It's in a bear trend on the daily. In fact, it tried to reverse and broke down. And on the monthly, that's a terrible monthly candle. It is in a bear trend on the monthly. So this is not one that's ready by any means, but it is a company that I like quite a bit. And from a more of an investment standpoint, there could be a good opportunity there on Luck eventually. CCJ coming down a little bit. Didn't get my alert to fire just yet. Came down to, oh, wow, really? The low was 98. I set my alert for 97.92. 8 cents. We wicked it and popped back up. Ah, you suck. Could have had a nice $2 to $3 gain there on CCJ if that alert was just a little bit higher. Oh, well, we'll see. Maybe it still goes down, making a lower high right now. So there could still be an opportunity there. Sometimes my favorite stocks to trade, especially when things are very rocky, uncertain, when you have a lot of news catalysts going on. Some of my favorite stocks to trade are the ones that just reported earnings. So they have a lot of volume, they have a lot of interest, and they tend to ignore the market jitters in general. So you can you can play their technicals a little bit safer, at least in my opinion. CCJ did not report earnings, but that rule kind of applies to UNH, UPS, and PayPal, which we can look at real quick here. UNH failed to protect the gap, fired to the downside thus far. Currently sitting at 362. Decent red candle here, basically back to yesterday's price off earnings. That's kind of interesting to me. Low of yesterday was 361.40. So we actually broke yesterday's low on UNH. Interesting. I don't like this company. I don't really want to own shares of this company. Yeah. I don't really even want to trade it. But if a good opportunity presents itself, I may be interested. If I had my choice, I don't want to trade this company. If something comes over that is attractive to me, I'll keep my eyes on it. Omar says, SPY fired down, wicked off low day. Yeah, I got the contracts up here still. I'm keeping an eye on. We'll pop back real quick and take a peek. Ooh, it did fire down pretty good. Fired down up to 685.18. Let's see what yesterday's price was. 685.18. That puts us up here. So kind of near yesterday's close, a little bit under that. You could even come as low as 684.73. I don't think it's going to, but could. Wow, what a bounce. Whew. Yo, SPY, Omar, SPY said GTFO. Damn, that was a solid 1 minute. A bullish engulfing candle on almost more volume. The best reversal candles that I love to trade are when you get a bullish engulfing candle with higher volume. We didn't get higher volume, but you did get a bullish engulfing candle. So we'll see if this thing leaves a gnarly V-shaped recovery here in the interim. And it's probably, yeah, IWM is fighting this LOI here. This is a very important level in the day. I actually think IWM is going to fail it, but I do think it's going to come back up. I don't know if it's going to sink down this low. But there's a decent amount of weakness here in IWM, unfortunately. I mean, you're seeing it across the board now, at least. The Qs are a similar candle pattern here. Obviously still more bullish than IWM. But if IWM can push out of here in the next 5 minutes, then you're going to get that reversal, kind of like a V-shaped reversal on SPY. If IWM can't get out of here in the next like 5 minutes or so, then you might swing a little bit lower. Volatility even got a pop on that. Oof, hello. Quick markup, remember, you could tap this 1637 level I talked about yesterday, but that's probably the top of the range. I don't anticipate volatility getting much hotter than that, much higher than that. Anything can happen. We might have had news, so let me check before I say, because obviously news will affect that. But I don't think we had any news because I didn't get anything pop up. So let's see. Not really. Yeah, didn't see any news come through unless someone in the chat can let me know. So we didn't really see anything to justify a quick VIX expansion. So this should about face here pretty soon and pretty quickly, I should say. The cool thing if you do trade 0 DTEs, especially if you're trading them in the beginning of the morning, yes, you carry more risk with IV, but you also have still the benefit of time. You got a little bit of time on your hands, which is nice. In fact, I'll do... how are these spreads? I might take a bear position on UVXY. Might. If anything, UVXY might stretch to 10, which puts you in that neighborhood of 1637 on the VIX. So you could get a little bit of a, like I said, a tiny bit of a push there, especially if IWM fails. But IWM's kind of holding that area right now, as you can still see on my watch list here. Contemplating. We hit 1992. We'll wait and see. Because even if I miss it, I still have a proxy long. I'm long the market, so even if volatility does fire down, I'll still catch the meat of the move here. Q's getting a little bit weaker. And IWM kind of consolidating near the lows here. To be very clear, I don't anticipate a bear day by any means. I anticipate more of like a bullish or a shop day overall. Yeah, I'm going to keep a tight eye on volatility here because if we do get one last little boop, then I'm going to look to enter those puts. Probably the $10. We'll see. And guys, if you like the trade alerts, right now I know SPY's underwater, but most of the time when I make alerts on stream, they pay off pretty nicely. So if you like those alerts, you want to check out some more of them, you can check out our Discord. The link is in the description, obviously. A lot of our members watch the stream, so shout out to you guys who are hanging out, who are already members, checking out the stream. Appreciate your support. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Kind of, again, just consolidating down here. So we're at some level of a pivot point here with volatility and with the overall market. Let's check out if NVIDIA might sweep a little lower. Google might sweep a little lower. I don't think it will. Microsoft's looking fine. Apple, if it can hold the 200 here, will be okay. Tesla's at the 200, so we'll see what happens there. Amazon's a little weak, but looks like it's trying to round out. And Meta's fine, really. So I don't really anticipate this to stick, this downside. So... I'd love if I can grab these at like 45 cents. That would be better for me. And then I might have a risk-free put position to swing on UVXY through FOMC, which would always be fun. I wouldn't be mad at that. We'll keep an eye. Full transparency, the SPY calls still are underwater right now at 24 cents. And it tells me that the volatility of the underlying, in this case the SPY, has increased while the volatility of said options for the underlying, in this case again the SPY, have decreased. Meaning buying to open contracts on the SPY theoretically is cheaper than the volatility is priced in for the SPY. And we're getting a pop here and I'm green on my contracts. What happened? I just saw these go to 40 cents real quick. Oh, there's your VIX rejection. Who died? Or who lived? What happened? Who did it? Who done it? Everything popped. Crazy wick here. Literally almost to my price target, actually. I said, right, this is the high of this range. 686.49 is what I was looking for. The high of this candle was 686.38. Very close. Very close. That had to be news. I'm looking right now. Or if anyone can beat me to the punch, beat me to the punch. Let me know. Because I got the chat up too. Let's look here. I have nothing on financial juice yet. Is it a tweet? Was it a tweet? Anyone? Marcel said he had to limit sell at 40 and didn't get the fill. Yikes. I don't know who got the fill at 40. Let's go back and see. It was probably like a contract. If I can rewind that far, that quickly. There it is, 35, 38, 40, 25. There were about 75 contracts that filled at 40. So, you're not alone. There's very few people who got filled at 40. Marcel saying, oh, what happened with Intel? Let's check it out. Nope, that's not, I don't even know what that is. Intel. Ooh, nice. Near the high a day on Intel, looking solid. Remember, every single strike this moves through increases that ability for a nice little gamma ramp. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. How are these other names we're watching today? CCJ, pretty flat. Little butt hurt that my alert didn't go off about 8 cents, but hey, that's all right. We live and learn. UNH bouncing off the lows for right now. Again, I wouldn't trade this. In fact, I'd contemplate shorting it. Are contracts expensive? Do I want to short it? I might actually short it because I don't want to long it. Let me check something out here. 365. Let's check one more thing here. So I'm contemplating a short right now on UNH for this week. Contemplating. Let's check the ass. Yeah, we'll do it. I'll do it. Was it 360s? Yeah. This will be a very short-term swing, but we'll rock and roll like we like to do. I'll drop it in this channel. I'm waiting right now. I'm probably going to have to play around in the spread. You got about a 40-cent spread here. All right, I'm going to slowly start picking some up. For those of you in the Discord, I just got my open alert, so we'll talk about that in a second here. All right, I'm picking up like one by one here. Wait and see before I make it an official alert. Because I might not get enough size where I like to justify that I'm watching it. I'm trying to fill around like the low fives. So basically I'm like fishing right now because this is, again, is like a 60-cent spread. Open's pushing. I'm getting 3 alerts. We might have to come back to this. I got to manage that. I got weeklies on open I got to watch. Where's my contract? What do I have, 8s? Yeah, I got 8s. All right, open pushing right now at 850. Big volume there too. I alerted these contracts in our community. as of Friday, at 67 cents. We saw a little bit of downside yesterday. Trimmed some out at 74 for about 10%. Looking to break above 850. And if I can, I'd like to hold these into the end of the week. Because especially if FOMC is perceived as bullish, I would like to rock and roll with some of these. All right, I'll just keep that up. We'll keep an eye on it. Ooh, I got filled on a few. All right, I'm like half size on UNH. Maybe I'll just rock that because these are spready. All right, so I'm gonna rock a half size position on UNH right now with it's a 503 average. So we'll come back and check on that in a little bit. Where's my UNH? There she is. Basically looking for it to reject this general area. So under this 367. This might be a little painful here for a little bit, but assuming it breaks this low, the low of this wick here at 10 o'clock, it will test the low of day. And at the low of day, I'd anticipate it firing under that because that puts you under yesterday's candle also. So as long as it doesn't really break out above like 368, this should fire to the downside. Well, we'll at least back test this general area. And then if that fails, it will test low a day. And if that fails, it will go lower. And I use words as absolutes sometimes because it's what will happen. We will see it happen in real time if it does happen in real time. Ooh, I got another alert. Man, we're busy this morning. I'm missing out on stuff. UPS sitting at this 95 area. I would not take the long on UPS here unless you were long after earnings. Never back tested that orange downtrend on PayPal. We'll keep an eye on that for potential opportunity. Ooh, you got a pump at 2040 now. The UUUUU machine. Interestingly enough, like a lot of like these retail-y names, so UUUU has had a lot of hype. Open's had a lot of hype, right? We're seeing, although the market, or I should say, although IWM is a little weak, we're seeing a little bit of love go through some of these names here. Pinduoduo hit that 137.65 area. That just under like 138. It's a little bit of a resistance there for Pinduoduo, but if you can get over that, Temu is looking good. Oh, damn. Intel, let's go, baby. Let's go. Let's go. If you are in our Discord, you are loving that swing right now because that is a risk-free, well, it's not risk-free, but it's a painless swing right now on an overnight contract. Currently up about 25%. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. SPY still working its way out here. Give it time. Get some news here. No. If you guys have any tickers you want to drop in the chat, feel free to drop it. I have the chat minimized just for a second, but I'll pop back to it in a sec. So feel free to drop those at your leisure. Intel pushing those 40.5 calls in the money right now. And the gamma ramp is going to start. Your next big trigger on Intel is going to be 2 days ago. So we're already over yesterday's high. 2 days ago, all-time high, 41.12. I believe that's all-time high. Sorry. I stand corrected. Not all-time high. 52-week high. 41.12. Big spot to watch. Keep an eye on that. All right, let me get the chat back up. Marcel says he feels like wheeling open calls now. Yeah, so I am long some open shares. What's my cost basis? Hold on. Because I sold some cash secure puts on open for our Discord community. I got to sign those shares because I sold an $8 put. I signed at $7.51, so I own shares at $7.51. I'm actually right there with you, Marcel. However, I'm interested in selling those calls, not yet, but maybe later this week because the opportunity here for open, we could see a nice pump here as we don't really have much resistance. You have a little spot here at like 950-ish. but it might have clear runway even this week alone up to 1075. So this is the times where you're wheeling that you don't want to cut off your nose to spite your face, where you might sell a covered call and now miss out on the upside of the underlying. So the times where I sell a covered call typically is very strategic. Sometimes I'm wrong, obviously, and that's where you get called away, and that's why it's a wheel. But it's very strategic in the sense that I don't want to sell a covered call now, even though I'm green and even though it looks great and all, because I see more upside here, potential upside, and I'd rather sell that covered call when we hit either this point of potential resistance or either this LOI, where I'm okay with selling my position anyway. And also, I could sell a call and maybe, keep rolling it, right? I could even day trade, sell to opens and buy it to close, right? So it kind of depends. Omar saying a 3-day swing for UNH. Yeah, so maybe. So I labeled that as a swing just because of where it's sitting right now. It may just end up being a day trade, which is fine. But if it does break the lows here, which I want it to do, so it's got to break this 10 o'clock low first and then the low a day. If it breaks that low a day, I might do some runners into the rest of the week. You got to remember, if you can afford it, this is the biggest point. If you can afford it, having runners or having runner-sized positions into a very news-heavy, volatile week is worth it, because there could be big events that make stocks pump or dump, whatever, right? As sentiment drives up or down. So you want to have that exposure if you can afford it. If you can't afford it, then take your profits and run by all means. So this is a swing if I get what I want and I can justify it being a swing. Also why I took half size, because if I don't trim any and it breaks the low a day and I end up walking with, 80% or whatever on a half size position, then I can immediately just go to runners and I'm already very light into the position anyway. So it's kind of a win-win both ways. It's just how you want to structure things. Oh, man. Intel wicked 41. Look at the volume coming in. 2 million on that last candle. Gonna want to see that. What was it? 41. We literally wicked that 52-week high. 41.12. Bang, bang. What are those contracts at? Woo, baby. $1.42. High on those contracts was $1.49. We alerted these in the Discord yesterday at $1.05. Pretty solid. HR says, can you check out Oxy when you get a chance? Yes, my friend. So I'm still long some Oxy. I don't really have a big position anymore. The only reason I'm holding remaining calls in this position, because I already took a giant chunk out up here on this pop, is for earnings that are this week. So we have oil earnings this week. Hold on, I'm going to fact check myself. I think Exxon and I'm forgetting the other one. Well, I'm dumb. Going back to myself, consumer confidence was 10 o'clock. I even said that pre-market and I just completely forgot. So that was the news. Which, by the way, came in a little better than expected. Who is it? Eli Lilly, Merck. I think it was Friday, right? Friday pre-market? Yeah, Chevron. There it is. Chevron and Exxon. So I'm waiting to see how oil earnings go. Right now, there's a lot of bearishness coming through oil in general. As people are bearish on oil because they're so bullish on tech and growth and gold. Well, gold's kind of the hedge, right? I think oil is overhated right now. So I still want to have a position, especially if earnings for those companies surprise. Then Oxy might get a nice little pre-ER run. And then maybe I go to runners and play through earnings. We'll see. But I got out a decent chunk of my position up here on that little pop. So right now I'm just kind of waiting and see where we go here with Oxy. Tom saying, enjoying the Intel pop. Didn't have a chance to add more to my position this morning. Hey, there's nothing wrong with it, man. The fact that you have a position and you made money is what matters at the end of the day. Those UNH, again, they're spready. Down a little bit, around that $4 range. Again, as long as it's staying south of this like 367 area, it's still valid. The U's are basically consolidating around 2034. I'm gonna want to see it push up to 2106, and that's probably where I'm gonna take my licking on that one, because I did have a call on it. Unless it could break that, But that's probably where I'm going to end up taking my licking on that one. I actually spoke about it, and I'll speak about it here so you guys know that, like, when there are trades, you have losing trades. It's not, you don't always want to just get the hell out of the way. Sometimes you do. Sometimes there's opportunity, and this is actually a great example where I was far out the money and I just weighed the risk to reward anyway. That I said if you closed above this key LOI, that I would still ride the position for one more day. And this is a position I'm red on right now. And now we got, it's got some sympathy move off of CCJ and that nuke news with the U.S. government. So it's getting a little bit of a sympathy move because the U.S. government is interested in investing in, uranium, nuke names, investing into, for the U.S. economy, is I guess what I'm trying to say, or U.S. companies, and not look for those sources of energy and rare earth materials outside of the States. So there still is that interest, which is a bullish catalyst or potential bullish catalyst for you. So if I realized my loss yesterday, I would have had a loss. It's fine, and anything could have happened, right? But because I was down so much on my position, it made more logical sense to wait and see one more day, especially closing over that key level. And now even if I took a loss right now, I have a smaller loss than I did yesterday. So there are certain ways where even when you're wrong with trading, you want to be right when you're wrong. So you can be very wrong and you can be a little wrong, right? So it very much depends on when you take your losses, because you will have losses. They're inevitable. But when and how you take those losses is really how you can measure success ultimately, because controlling those losses is what matters. You could be like me or a lot of other great traders that have over a 90% hit rate. You're excellent. And I'm not saying that to gloat. I'm just saying I'm someone who does fairly well, right? But if I don't control the 10% of the time that I suck, right, that I lose, it doesn't matter. If I full port every time, the one time out of the 10% of the time that I have a miss, I'll lose all my money, right? So how to size correctly into a trade and how to control those losses is very important, and it's not really talked about much because it's not sexy. What is sexy is talking about percentage gains and how big your wiener is. That's about what is sexy, apparently. No one, I don't think any fooder out there talks about that, but they do talk about their percentage gains, and it is always a constant pissing contest. This one came across my radar. So Bud came across my radar quite a bit recently, and it does have earnings coming up, but this is an interesting chart down here where it is very tight here. You've got the 200 MA, it's basically sitting on it. You've got all these other EMAs super, super tight on this volume shelf here on the daily chart for Bud. And this is, Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch. This is not a name that typically I trade. It's not a name that gets a lot of volume in terms of options chain activity. But it is very interesting to me because you do have this big old gap and another big old gap up here. Now, is alcohol attractive right now, or beer drinkers attractive? Is that where the market's going? I would actually challenge you to say, no, I don't really think that the alcohol market in general is growing. In fact, if you see some of these reports or some of these news articles saying how Gen Z and the younger generation, I guess myself included, I'm a millennial, are drinking less and less and less. A lot of people aren't actually drinking alcohol. In fact, a lot of people are shifting towards like smoking weed. If they're going to do anything, they're actually not even smoking cigarettes. They're just smoking weed. They're not drinking alcohol anymore, which can actually be a decent bearish catalyst, obviously, for Bud. However, I think companies like this can be an interesting prospect. Maybe not at this evaluation, but they can be an interesting prospect because I believe a lot of these companies are going to get involved with other kind of weed names, such as, you guys know I like Kronos Group, where this company has already expressed interest in, I believe they had an agreement with Coors. They had an agreement with an alcohol brand to infuse CBD or whatever into alcoholic beverages. And I think that's going to be the way that we see a lot of alcoholic companies go. Obviously, if there is a hot alcohol product right now, it is like White Claws, right? It's the seltzer, right? It's not just straight Bud Light. Those aren't attractive or sexy anymore. People aren't drinking those. But at this evaluation on Bud, where it's sitting right now going into earnings, it's rare that I take an earnings bet. It's rare, and I want to be careful saying this. This would be a good opportunity for a strangle trade, in my opinion, depending on how much that costs. So looking at the strangle right now, and they report earnings in 2 days on the 30th. It's currently the 28th. So a strangle right now, and these are wide options, and like I said, there's not a lot of open interest. You might have a really bad time getting a fill, so keep that in mind. But if you could get a strangle trade, let's just look at the last execution here, and we'll do the 61s. So the last execution here, you're looking at literally a $3 cost. So $1.25 on the put side and $1.75 on the call side. So that's going to give you a $3 cost, which means you need a $3 move in the underlying from $61 to make money. So you either need it to go north of 64 or south of 58 to make your money. With how this is set up, I do think that is a possibility. Even though the implied move, which again, it's hard to look at here if we're just doing a rough and dirty implied move here, the implied move is a little less than that. The implied move is like again, it's hard to say because this is so spready, but the implied move is around like 250-ish. So the implied move is lower than the move that would be for a strangle trade. However, because of how it's technically sitting on the chart, I do think that there would be an outsized earnings, whether good or bad for Bud. And that's why it's an interesting prospect for me to consider a strangle trade. So that's something I'm personally going to look at for the rest of the week. We'll see how it sets up as we get closer to earnings. But the way that this chart is sitting does strike my fancy. I am very interested in how Anheuser-Busch is sitting at this current juncture. Strange for me, or I'm sorry, Marcel said he's long Bud, great confluence. Be careful. That's what I'll say about that. Hold on, I'll read the chat. I'm just going to catch up on, see where things are. UNH is right at that 367, 368 level. So we'll see if it rejects here. Again, I got to exercise some level of patience there. The SPY call is right now still underwater, but let's pop back to the SPY real quick, see how that's doing. I just wouldn't bet short. I think I'm pretty confident if we break over. This is my price target right here. It's basically like a 680, 650 area. Look at IWM. IWM had a nice reversal, and the Qs just aren't getting the love just yet. But I think we're going to see a decent V-up recovery and get back to open price on SPY if I'm patient. So we'll wait. Again, higher volatility earlier in the day. I have a little bit of flexibility with time. If I feel like this is really going to get sweated, though, I might roll to 1 DTEs. We'll see, though. So far, we're making higher lows consecutively. So if we can stick with that, it's looking okay. It is underwater. It's a 0 day, so we take different risk into account, obviously. But it's okay so far. It's not going to have an easy break, but when it does have a break, it should be a pretty decent, strong break. Pop back to what we're looking at, UNH. Again, UNH should reject out of here. Should go lower. Watch the 10 o'clock low. If that 10 o'clock low breaks, you will break low day. Strange Maker said, weed drinks are getting big. Yes, they are. Omar says, with the shift towards longevity and the raise of health and physical awareness, I think alcohol consumption go towards more upscale and high-end brands. I could agree with that sentiment. That's actually a really good sentiment. The consumption overall will be more social, as in no more beers in front of the game or more a good bottle of wine around a nice dinner. Something not as casual, rational, rather occasional. I agree with that. That makes a lot of sense. I think long gone are the days where you come home and drink a beer because you had a hard day, right? If you're like a laborer or whatever. I mean, obviously people are still going to do that, but for like the overall people, most people, long gone are the days where you come home and have a glass of wine or whatever. At least with the younger crowd, people are getting more health conscious, which is ironic because as an American, we have one of the fattest countries in the world. But everything has the word protein on it now, right? Everyone wants to pretend that they lift weight. And we also have drugs that take away all your fat. So people want to be more health conscious. And as someone who is straight edge, I've never consumed alcohol. I've consumed alcohol on 2 occasions in my life. Once on my wedding day, the other time on New Year's Eve when I was 10. And it was a sip of champagne. And I had a sip of wine on my wedding day. That was it. I've never drunk, like, ever, period. Alcohol doesn't taste good, right? And I think a lot of people don't feel good after they get drunk and don't feel good when they drink in general. And I think people want to feel good and they want to have a little bit more control. And I think they have that good feeling and that more control when they, if you are going to compare the two, smoke weed or inhale or take edibles, whatever, as a way more health conscious way of relaxing if you need something to relax, right? Marcel says, Bud wants 20% of their sold beverages to be alcohol-free by the end of the year. What the hell are they selling, dude? Are they selling alcohol-free beer? You know, I should try that. I've never had that. I've heard it's not good. But I've never had alcohol-free beer. Ooh, look at Knack. $2. So this is another one I alerted in the Discord yesterday. I'm out long some Knack calls. And this one could be pretty solid if it gets a little bit more. Got to break over 207 and then over 217. This one looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. And again, if you want those live alerts, you want to know what's going on and what I'm trading in real time, check out the link in my bio. Join exclusive trading, community that I'm a part of, with one of the best in the game, exclusive trading himself, and one of the best chartist technical traders in the game, Grumps. You definitely get your bang for your buck, and if you disagree, well, you can ask anyone in the chat who is a member right now. They'll tell you get your bang for your buck. At least I think so. I think you get good value. Just checking things around here. Sorry, just catching up. Alrighty, cool. Didn't miss anything. Open still sitting near, again, I said 838 is the area to watch. So we're at 837. So watch that nice POC here as well. Over 850, you get some like retail FOMO popping into this name more than likely. UNH back towards 460 right now. Basically like your mid price, around 435 to 465 right now on UNH. Intel near that high of day, high of week, 52 week high, 6 cents off. Looking pretty good. We'll see if we get there. We will see. Toby says, alcohol-free American beer. My German braveheart does not like that thought. I can't speak on the matter. Maybe someone else in the chat can. EB saying, XT is worth every penny. Thank you for the compliment, my friend. Marcel says, Toby and I are spoiled when it comes to beer. Yeah, you Europeans, you get the good alcohol. Maybe that's why I had never had the interest to try alcohol, because I live over here in the States, and it's all butt cheeks. UNH right now near that VWAP level. Again, this low of 10 o'clock is your trigger. Under that low, you will. And again, I speak in absolutes, especially when I'm short. If I speak in absolutes, it's because I will be right. Unless there's news to change it up, I will be right. If the 10 o'clock low breaks, this will go low a day. I'm one of the few people that will actually speak in absolutes. If the 10 o'clock low breaks, this will go low a day. We'll see. But very rarely will I speak in an absolute and it be wrong. 2074. Next price target to watch on the is 21. I got an alert there at 2103. 2106. That's a key LOI. If you're a bull, you want to get over that. This is going to get some retail-y FOMO squeeziness, in my opinion, if it gets over this 2106. You actually saw a decent amount of shorts pop into this name 2 days ago and yesterday even. And a lot of bear flow, if you're a flow trader, coming into this name yesterday. So getting this little surprise here on CCJ could actually flip the script real quick on the bears and get this to pop up and revert in price very, very quickly. Omar says we'd like your absolutes, Adam. Well, I'm very picky when I say them, so hopefully that's appreciated. All right, let's get rid of Bud. Let's get rid of Oxy right now. Come back to that later, maybe. Watch open. Again, that 850 trigger is going to be big on the weekly. Good volume here as MACD's trying to flip up, holding good bull momentum at the moment. Again, I didn't forget about you guys. Those SPY calls right now are still cooked. They're still at 22 cents, but actually I'll pull it up here because we were looking at a lot of different names right now. We have not broken out yet, so it is what it is. They're holding their value, all things considered. These should be more cooked, to be honest with you. They should be cooked a lot more, but it's holding their value so far. All things considered. We'll get rid of luck right now. Intel just broke their 52-week high. We are cooking with fire, gasoline, and kerosene. Intel is pumping right now a new 52-week high, and the gamma ramp continues, baby. Like I said, in the pre-market and earlier today. This has a gamma ramp opportunity this week, next week, the following week, and all the way to November's OPEX, where the holy grail of 45 sits. Yes, the $45 calls right now with that OI of 118,000 calls right now, and there are no bears that dare step in front of the bull that is Intel right now. The ramp opportunity is huge right now at 41.25. And again, if you were in our Discord yesterday, if you were just there, you had the opportunity to consider a $45 call on that chain that I was just talking about at $1.05, currently trading at $1.54, up whatever that is, almost 50%, right? Huge move on the overnight. And you gotta love it, SPY testing VWAP and the 200 MA as that red SAR comes down. So we're not out of the woods here yet, but if there is a reversal, if we get any semblance of a pop here pretty soon, we're gonna go to my first prior target and we're gonna revert back to open price. We will see. Do not sleep on open here over 850. 838 to 850 is kind of like a, for those of you like supply and demand, kind of like a supply range. Getting over that puts you pretty bullish on the daily. You're going to hit your head next basically in this top of this range here around like the mid 9s. So you got a nice like 70-cent markup there if you can crack over that 850. Marcel dropping the cows. Moo! Saying that there's no bull emoji in YouTube apparently. We will now forever use the cows. The cow emoji in this chat. Whenever we're feeling bullish, let's drop some cows in the chat. Oh man, Intel, the ramp is ramping right now, baby. Up 4.5%. Let's go. Flashing back to UNH, still underneath that area. So this actually, if it can sustain underneath, again, this 367, 368 area, the longer it kind of chops around in here, especially if it makes lower highs. So we'll see if it makes lower highs. The longer it floats here after a hard move down, getting a pop-up and consolidating, the longer it stays here without breaking back to the upside, the higher probability of a downside sweep on UNH. So there's a higher chance of UNH coming down if we see basically this range not break. Omar, OG, remembering the sassy cow meme? Yes, I do. I want to find that again. That was hilarious. There's a cow meme. I'm gonna have to share it with you guys. There's a sassy cow, and it's like it goes like moo. If someone could send it to me in the Discord, if you have it, that'd be great. I'm gonna look it up. Because if I can find the clip, I want to share it with you guys, because it is pretty funny. What the hell? I wish I could show you. Okay, do not look up the word sassy cow on YouTube. I'm sorry, do not look up the word sassy cow on X and just hit top. Like the most recent sassy cow thing. Do not look that up. That's not what I... Okay, apparently don't look up sassy cow at all. Never mind. Never mind. Do not look... It's not PG. Do not look up... This is why you can't share X on... Like, I couldn't share... I'm happy I didn't share my screen. I would have been taken down. That would have been a TOS violation. Do not look up sassy cow on X. And I know a lot of you probably are going to. But do not look up sassy cow on X. It is not PG-13. It is definitely X rated. Tag me in the chat. Thank you, sir. Where'd you tag me? Oh, down here. Wait, did you tag me? Go on the Discord. I'm on the Discord. I did not get a tag, did I? There we go. Got it. All right, hold on. Let me pull this up. Copy. I think I got to pull it up on... Hold on. You're not going to see my screen for a sec. Oh, wait. I can do this. There we go. Now you can see it. And put it in here. X search is always adult content. Yes, it is. All right, hold on. Let's go to... See if I can still do this right. Let's go to the screen share. So we take a quick intermission. Here's our sassy cow. You should be able to hear this.
Good moo! Oh, you found your moo!
Moo!
job. Where'd that come from? Oh, wow. Good. Oh, you found your moo. Good job.
Oh, I gotta mute for a sec. That is... I have to save that because that's one of my favorite videos. I remember when I came across that. Hold on, let me get back to the charts here. When I came across that, I played that like 5 times because that was so funny. The top comment is, "This is where soy milk comes from." Here, I'm gonna post it in the chat for those of you that are in our Discord. There's the YouTube link. Oh man. Oh, that sends me. Whew. Okay, Intel. Let's drop some cows in the chat for Intel, baby. Woohoo! Mew! Mew! Let's get some sassy cows in the chat. Intel now at 41.53. Those contracts alerted at $1.50, now sitting almost at $1.70. Whoo-wee. All right. SPY still not breaking out here, still kind of chopping along, but we're seeing the bull tail slowly come here. We're slowly seeing the bulls reverse here, especially on the 5-minute. You can use the high of that 10-minute candle, or I'm sorry, the 10 o'clock candle, as confirmation of a full bull reversal that's going to flip you bullish on the 5-minute. It's going to break your red star on the 5-minute. It's going to put you above all your EMAs and MAs on the 1 through the 2, 5, 3, and 5-minute chart. It's going to flip your MACD on everything. So that's going to be your big trigger point there. Oh, man, that kills me. That kills me. Oh, all right. Whew. Okay, I'm good. No. All right, open near that 850 again. Getting a little bit of pump here. Contracts are back to my cost at 67 cents. Strange Maker says, love the stream on the background as I'm working this morning. Yeah, man, you got to hear the sassy cow in your ear. If you haven't seen that video, Strange Maker, copy that link. You got to check that out when you get time. It's so funny. I mean, what you heard is what it is, but it's still hilarious. Oh, man. What a banger. Oh, wow. Look at IWM. Nice reversal on IWM. We kind of slept on it because we were looking at everything else. Back above that 249.60. Really solid reversal, which tells me since SPY didn't reverse really that much, that weakness actually came into the Qs. The divergence at play again. Qs are actually at the low a day and testing the 200 MA currently on the 1 minute. So, yep, some weakness there in NVIDIA. I wouldn't even say Google's weak. I think this is just kind of making a base here before it's going to flip around. Just consolidating on Microsoft, not going anywhere. Basically a similar story on Apple. Tesla's not bad, looking okay. Amazon a little bearish. Oh, Meta came in big with the bears. So we're seeing the divergence take place once again. And I talked about this ad nauseum. How you always want to watch the Qs and IWM because there's times where money just washes back and forth between the two, where the market goes more risk on and risk off, and it looked like the money right now is flipping back into the Russell and coming out of the tech names, but I don't think that's going to stick. I actually am speculating that we would see all 3 indexes get on the same foot today, get on the same page. Man, that move video, like I don't know what happened. It made me laugh, and then now I can't enunciate properly. Ooh, let's keep an eye on open right at 850. Breaking this 850 is going to send this thing to the stratosphere. Probably going to send it around $9 realistically, but it's going to give it a nice little push here if we can break 850. Contracts are at my highest trim right now at 74 cents. About a 10% gain on those contracts. Nothing to flex about, nothing to be too crazy about. But look at that volume there on that 850 break. Pretty solid volume. So we'll see if it can sustain over this level here. I'm very bullish on open into the end of the week right now. As long as it can stay over 838 and 850, those are key levels you want to keep an eye on if you are also a open bull. Intel cooling off a little bit as it should, right? You don't want to get too excited, but looking pretty solid. Overall, solid move. Back testing the 52-week high. Again, that was 41.12, which I really should put I'm 99% here is 41.12, right? Yeah, 41.12. So we're going to put an LOI there. That's a significant area. That's a 52-week high. Keep an eye on that, just so we can visualize that on the chart. You can see that when we're looking at it. SPY calls at 22 cents. I am butthurt that my CCJ never fired. That sucks. Is what it is. Guys, I'll make a deal with you. Normally I wrap up the show right now, but we are currently at 6 likes on YouTube. If we can bump that number up to 10, I will stream with you guys until at least 11 o'clock. At least. So another 24 minutes at least. So if you haven't already, pop over to the YouTube, and I'll do my second quick plug because I haven't done it in a while. Wherever you're watching, do me a quick favor. If you're enjoying the stream, drop a like on it. Wherever you're watching on YouTube, Instagram, X, Twitch, or Kick. Interact in your favorite way. A lot of you guys are talking in the chat this morning. That's my favorite kind of show when we're having a good conversation. But most importantly, if you haven't, pop over to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Once we hit 500 subscribers, this will be an everyday show. So if you enjoy the show, you enjoy the stream, you want more of it, all you got to do is hop over to YouTube, hit subscribe. And if we get those likes, we're 2 likes away. We're at 8 likes. We're 2 more likes. Only 10. 1 like away. We're at 9 likes. If we get 10 likes, I will go to at least 11 o'clock. And maybe we'll go a little bit longer. We'll see. Depends how fun it is. Yesterday was kind of a boring show because the market was kind of stale. Today we got some fun things to look at. And we hit the 10 likes. Let's go. Sorry, we'll do it again. And we hit the 10 likes. Let's go. There you go. Air horn. We like Adam. I'll use my OG member card and ask you to stay for further 20 minutes. We'll see. We'll see. At least till 11 o'clock. Thank you guys for liking up the stream. Appreciate your support. There we go. Here's SPY. So this is the trigger we're looking for. The high of this candle here, 686.38. Again, that's going to flip you bullish on all of my short-term time frames I use. The 1, the 2, the 3, and the 5. So we're not there yet. But breaking that should give us open price again. Which is up here. So around 687. I'll still be $1 out the money on my 688s that expire today. But currently you're trading a 20-cent delta. And you're talking about at least $1 move. So that would put me at roughly 45 cents a contract with a 38-cent entry. I will not be mad at that. Or whatever it was. 38, 36? I forgot. Where'd I get in at? Let me check my account. 39 cents. So that still gives me the 12% gain at least. It's nothing crazy, but if we break that and keep moving, then it'll be a fun time. Excuse me for the coughing. UNH still just kind of consolidating here. Did technically make lower highs, so we'll see what happens. UPS chopping around down here. I don't think I have any interest in trading UPS today. It's just sitting in my LOIs down here. If you wanted to play upside here, you could. I just don't like it because of where the daily's sitting. And now you got this. You risk the gap on the downside, and then you got the 200 MA on the daily. So like, 6-7. I did the hand thing. That's why I said the 6-7 thing. It's like 4 people that might get that. I'm also salty that I didn't technically hit that back trend. If we hit that downtrend tap on PayPal, we would be rocking and rolling. We were a few cents off on that alert. Second alert today. That sucks, but it is what it is. You keep an eye on it. Consolidating at the highs isn't necessarily a bearish thing by any means. If it can keep going here, so you're going to want to see it consolidate. Probably, I mean, it will probably be while we're live on the stream. You want to see it get past 11 o'clock, still holding the highs. Then you're more than likely going to get a nice little lunch rush on the U's. NAC rejecting the LOI under 201 right now. Pinduo kind of just sitting around. Yesterday was a boring day. If you trade Pinduo, holy crap. It did nothing. It just traded sideways all day at 37 and then had a really cool pop at the end of the day. But that might be a similar case here where we had the pop in the... I hope it's not the inverse where we had the pop in the morning and then just trade sideways all day. Very boring name right now. Hopefully I eat my words on that. We will see. Ooh, harsh rejection on SPY pre that 10-minute high, or 10 o'clock high. Back into that cluster there. You did break the red SAR on that. You're at POC here on the 5-minute. So if bulls fail this area, then it's not looking good. We shouldn't fail this area. I'm guessing the Q, yeah, the Qs are just eating it. And IWM had a nice rally, had a nice push. Could be a little bit of a reversal here. May go back to backtest this LOI. Left a pretty gnarly wick on the 5-minute here at the 200 MA on the 5-minute. So I might come back down and hit this and then kind of chop sideways. So I might look for like some exposure here on IWM. Kind of depends. It's interesting to see because at the beginning of the day, the divergence was not in favor of IWM and it was more in favor of the Qs, and now the script has been flipped. So we'll see. Maybe I could take my volatility short. I just don't dig the spread on these, and I'm not... The issue is, like, I want to grab UVXY puts, and typically when I play volatility, it tends to be, like, a really solid, like, return. I just don't... Like, it will... More than likely will stay under 10 on UVXY. However, I don't think there's going to be a lot of meat on the move because the VIX is going to remain pretty tight. Like, it's probably going to stay, again, like, high 15s, high to mid 15s, so it could... drop like 10 to 20 cents. And if I'm scooping up the $10 puts, what's my delta on them? Got delta 50, so that means every 10 cents conservatively I'm making 5 cents. So I might make like 60 cents a contract if I get in at like 50 cents, and that's timing basically the $10 move down to the low a day, so it's not really worth it. It would be a 20% gain actually now that I say it out loud. It won't be bad. It's just, it'd be painstakingly slow, I fear. So I don't really want that exposure. Nvidia's looking like it's going to reverse here pretty soon. As does Google. Microsoft looking a little weaker now. Watch the low a day here. Apple also looks like it's trying to put it in reversal. So it looks like our tech names, with the exception of Tesla here, are looking a little reversey. Amazon also looking a little reversey. Meta's trying to put in a green candle here. This is bad. It's got hammered real quick. But it looks like our tech names are trying to put in a little bit of a bottom on the day here. And that kind of aligns with the Qs on the 5-minute here where the 50 MA is, that dark purple line on my chart. Conversely, you have the 200 MA that's roughly around where on the 1-minute, roughly around where the 50 MA is on the 5-minute. They would have to reverse out of this, so the bulls on tech would have to reverse out of this in like very soon, in like 2 to 5 minutes. Otherwise, this is going to fire down. The Qs more than likely will sweep lower, which obviously does not look good for my bull position on SPY, unfortunately. So I might have to take that one on the chin. Because IWM is going to come down a little bit, but this should gain and continue to hold strength above this LOI. So IWM small caps are looking okay. It's just tech, if it can't get out of dodge here, if it can't get some sort of recovery here very soon, then SPY is going to probably, I'm going to get cooked on it, I think. And as every waking second and minute goes by, I lose more and more in this case. So I've got to see some volatility come in. I've got to see the Qs recover. If they don't recover, then I got to cut it for a loss. So we'll see. Marcel says pocket market says 98% chance for 25 poly market, not pocket market. It says a 98% chance for a 25 basis point cut tomorrow. Yeah. Probably. I believe they said they wanted to cut at the beginning of this year. I think they said they wanted to cut 3 times by the end of the year. So we already saw 1 cut, obviously. So wouldn't shock me. Would be right in line, right? EB says stop twice on those SPY calls. Yeah, if I'm loading zero, so here's my rule of thumb. When I trade 0DTs specifically, and I would like to bestow this potential trade rule onto all of you that you may like to use. Actually, here, I'll record this just in case anyone wants to refer this. When I specifically trade a 0DT option, there's one thing I very rarely do, and that's average down. In general, when you average down, it typically means that you're admitting loss in some way or the other, right? unless it's a big, it makes a lot of sense and things are turning around, there's signs there, especially if you have time on contracts. But specifically with a 0 DTE, the size that I go in with a 0 DTE 99% of the time is the size I'm willing to lose. I don't ever want to go into a 0 DTE trade and get stopped and get back in and get stopped and get back in and get stopped and get back in, because at that point it's going to wear down my mental. Unless I stop in profit, or I've already gathered profit and put a stop loss at entry, and if it sweeps lower, let it go in and then, go back in at a later point in time. But in general, if I am trading 0-day contracts, I want to define my risk and let that be it, right? I don't like to size for zero a lot of the time. I like to trade until the chart tells me I'm wrong, which means I size responsibly. But in general, I don't want to just recklessly trade specifically a 0-day contract. I want to be okay with the size I'm going in. It's typically lighter than other contracts. And conversely, if I get contracts with more time, then I feel more comfortable with a bigger dollar exposure. So it may not necessarily be in quantity of contracts, but a bigger dollar exposure on longer term trades, because the risk is lower theoretically, and I can make more money. The percentage may be lower, but the dollar gain theoretically will be higher. The inverse is true with SPY, where if you're trading a 0-day SPY option, for example, where the percentage gain is higher, so consequently, my dollar exposure can be lower because I'm looking to make the same net dollar gain, essentially, right? So I don't risk as much because the amount that I could make in terms of a percentage gain is vastly higher on a short-term contract, but the risk is also vastly higher. So theoretically, if I'm looking at dollar gain, like let's just say you want to make $100 per contract, or $100 for a trade, right? That might be, so on $1,000, let's just use simple numbers, that's 10%, right? So maybe on a swing, you put $1,000 in, and when you make a 10% gain, you got your $100. But on a 0-day contract, you still want to make that same $100. Maybe you only risk $100, but you're looking for a 100% gain. So you still make that 100%, right? Sorry, you still make that $100, but the percentage gain is different because the risk is different. So whenever you're trading shorter term contracts or weekly contracts, consider sizing down and keep in mind the dollar, right? Don't worry about percentages, focus on the dollar. What are you looking to make on each trade? What are you willing to lose theoretically? Because the less time that you have on the option, the higher your risk is. Consequently, the higher your reward is. So if you're consistent in that sense, where you are lowering your dollar exposure short term and increasing your dollar exposure long term, you remain somewhat constant. You remain in a constant ebb and flow of balancing the two with risk to reward. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't really grasp. They might say $100 is $100 is $100, which it is. But in the realm of trading, what you don't account for is the risk, is how likely these will burn out. How likely will I lose money on these versus how likely I'll lose money on the ones that are 30, 60, 90 days out, right? And again, what matters is that dollar gain. So I would heavily suggest you focus in general, if you do trade shorter term options, weeklies, 0 days, whatever, that you focus on the dollar gain. I challenge you to do this. It's a little mental trick, right? Focus on the dollar gain, not the percent gain. Whereas you focus on the dollar gain as well with your swing contracts, your longer term contracts, your longer term trades. Because at the end of the day, your portfolio doesn't care how many percent you make. It doesn't care that you banged out a 500% banger. Doesn't care. What it cares about is the amount of dollars you make. And also, you can take, once you get to the point with size and comfortability, when you have those swing trades, you could go to runners and maybe they end up being a 20,000% gain or something incredible, right? But as that risk grows and as you can realize those profits, you take less and less and less risks because you take profit. So these are the things that a lot of people don't really sit with and think about. And I guarantee you, if you understand this concept and you focus on the dollar gain, not the percent gain, that you will feel a lot less stressful in your trading, especially if you're trading 0 day or weekly contracts in comparison to your longer term contracts or your equity or your leap calls, whatever it is. That's my little shtick on 0 day trading in general. I recorded that too, so I'll upload that for people. EB says averaging down is what got me last week, or got me before last week, never again. It's dangerous, man. And one of the best things I could say, one of the best phrases, and this stuck with me for a while. I don't know where I picked it up from, but this is a long time ago. Don't water your weeds. Right? You want to water your grass, your flowers, meaning if you want to put more money into a position, you put more money into a position that's working. Whether it's equity, you'll see me sometimes I average up on plays. A lot of times I don't, but sometimes I will average up on a play. But a lot of times I don't because I'm already like comfortable with the size. But sometimes I'll be like, all right, this is working really well. Let me average up because I see even more upside, right? Very rarely do I average down in general. And when I average down, it's because either I have time or there's a very, very, very key part on the chart, or both those things, that I anticipate on holding. Like, for example, I'm not averaging down on these 688 calls because if it doesn't break this level, they're fried. I'll be straight up with you. They're not going to recover. And because until I see some strength come into the Qs, which is at a very tricky spot here, right? Like I said, you got the 200 MA on the 1 minute, the 50 MA on the 5 minute. Until we can get over this, like buying more here is stupid, right? The risk, there's an argument both ways. So I don't want to say I'm more bullish now just because the price is cheaper. How dumb is that? Really think about that, right? I'm not calling anyone dumb individually, but logically in your brain, why would you be more bullish on something just because the price is cheaper? Now, if you love a company or whatever, that's great. That makes tons of sense, right? But because your contracts are cheaper, that shouldn't make you more bullish, but there's more at play there, right? It's not an equity trade. It's not investing in a company. You're investing in a derivative, and those derivatives have Greeks, and those Greeks change. And things can affect those Greeks that make them worth more, worth less. You really got to grasp that concept. And again, this isn't an attack on anyone. It's just really trying to point out, years ago, it took me very long to SpongeBob meme, firmly grasp it. Anyone get that? With the jellyfish net into the hand. To firmly grasp that concept, it took me a while. But really, once you get to the phase of trading, when you actually mature enough to understand that and focus more on the dollars and the percents, and you focus more on the risk to reward than whether you should be bullish or bearish, or the risk on versus risk off market, I promise you, these are the means of stress-free trading for the most part. Most of my days are very chill. I'm very happy. Even when I'm trading a 0-day contract, I don't sweat it. I'm not sweating this right now. I'm down 50% on this call, and I'm chill. It's okay. It's fine because I sized appropriately into it, and I'm still following a game plan. I'm looking at the market. I'm looking at the volatility. And so far, like I said, we're rejecting at 10 on UVXY, so volatility is not broken to the upside. IWM is respecting above this LOI, so that's definitely bullish. And if the Qs can hold it here, then SPY probably is going to break the trigger, and we might get that upside. So it's not dead, right? But it could be dead. So I need to understand that. HR dropping the UNH. Let's see. What are we at? There we go. We did not break the 10 o'clock lows yet. So also for UNH, this is why it's important to understand. I'm going to give you guys a quick lesson if you don't know intrinsic and extrinsic value. These 360 calls, these 360 puts on UNH, if we go to low a day, we'll hold an intrinsic value of about $1.40, roughly, right? As that falls, it will gain more and more and more intrinsic value. Again, talking about dollars, not percentages. When you're trading options contracts and as these options go in the money, you will notice you will gain more dollars quickly, because that delta gets higher. And as things move more in your favor, those contracts are worth more and more and more, because not only are they more likely to be to go in the, or to exercise in the money, that you could actually use them, or someone could use them, right? But they actually hold intrinsic value. If I give you a contract, because remember, a contract is an agreement whether to buy or sell 100 shares of an underlying name. I give you a piece of paper right now that says it's a $400 call on UNH, right? It says I'll buy $400, or I'll buy 100 shares of UNH at $400 from you, but I'll sell you this contract for $1, and you buy it, and that gives you the right to purchase UNH at $400 for $1. Guess what? If UNH never goes to $400, it stays at this price. That's worthless. That's called extrinsic value. That's time value. You pay for that because there's a chance that UNH could be worth $400 in the future. Now flip the script here. If I sold you a UNH call, a $300 UNH call for $65, whatever, that's going to hold its intrinsic value because whenever you want to exercise that, if that's a month from now, and UNH is at $400, right? Or what? Or let's just say it's at, yeah, actually, say it's $400. That contract's worth $100 because the strike price, $300, is the price that you're buying the shares at, and the current price, which is $400, is what it's worth. So that has value. That's called an intrinsic value. It's worth something to someone somewhere. That contract has value because the shares, when you purchased the call, were theoretically cheaper than it currently is. It now has value. It's worth something. That piece of paper is worth something. And when you buy options, as the paper becomes worth something, they gain value. If it isn't worth something, it becomes worthless, meaning if it's out the money, it has no value. The only thing you're betting on is time. You're saying it might be worth something in the future. And that's what it is. Like, for example, with SPY right now, if SPY closes anywhere under 688, because this is a 0-day option, these will go to zero because it's not worth anything. If SPY closes at 690, then these will be worth $2 a contract because you could buy 100 shares of SPY at 688 for a $2 premium. Very, very, very simple. Intel back underneath that 52-week high, looking like we're rounding out and going to get a pop above it once again. Keep an eye on that. UNH has not broken that 10 o'clock low, but it's getting very close. Looks like we popped above my entry just a tad and then came back under it. Again, wide spread on these, so just be cautious. PayPal. If we get that back test, I'm very interested in it. We'll see. You cooled off a little bit more than I wanted it to. It's at the POC here, which is also right on my LOI at 2034. So we'll see if it gets some love above that or not. What else we got going on here? Pinduoduo coming down just a little bit. How's Peloton doing today? Peloton needs to break over its 50 MA. It's got earnings coming up on the 6th. It's sitting on this LOI at 761, literally on it right now, 761. It's feeling very sandwichy. I gotta delete this. This is annoying me. It's gotta break out to the upside here fairly soon. So we'll see on that. Ooh. So this is one I was personally watching. I didn't alert this or anything, so I'm not going to pretend like I did. But GXO up about 2%, probably off of some UPS earnings. This is a logistics company, so it would make logical sense to me. Is that the all-time high? No, it's a 52-week high. 56.23. This one moves like a snail. It's part of the reason why I didn't alert it. As you can see, gappy candles, there may not be any price action. Like, look, this one's 1034. Next candle came in at 1036. 1037. Next candle came in. Next buy or sell 1043. So this is a very gappy, slow mover. SPY firing down for now, so I might have to take my loser here soon. But so far, we're respecting my trade plan. We're under 10 on UVXY. IWM is, for now, above that LOI. And the Qs are at the 200 MA. We're above the 50. So maybe with a little bit of patience. I don't want to hold this one for much longer, though, because I'm running out of time here where I'm feeling comfortable. Because midday, especially with this kind of chart here, would spell probably a chop fest. So we'll give it till a little bit after 11C. Because even if I may be right, but I just might get thetaed. So I might roll to a 1 DTE perhaps, or just not even, just take the loss and find something better to trade. Video looks like it's going to get a recovery here. Especially on the 5 minute, if it breaks the POC here. It's looking pretty solid, actually. Google's leaving a lot of wicks down here. And a lot of volume on this specific candle here on the 5 minute right now. Had a high volume sell there. I should say sweep, not sell. We'll see how that one rounds out in a minute. Microsoft looking like it may try to give back all of that OpenAI pump. No bueno. Things are definitely leaning more bullish than bearish. as long as volatility doesn't mark up. So again, you want to use 1637 on the VIX. So theoretically, UVXY could breach 10 a little bit. But UVXY 10 and VIX 1637, those are your key levels you want to watch if you're a bull today in general. Notice how every time UVXY gets near that 10 spot, what happens? Quick bump. Check your charts if you don't believe me. 1040, what is that? 1046? 1046 and 1059. Let's go to the VIX. Oh, look at that. 1046, high a day. 1059? High, or not the high a day, but slightly lower. Big pop on the VIX. And what happens? Quick reversal right near the 10. And the market pop, pop. So volatility doesn't want to be this high. Consequently, the market also doesn't want to be this low at this point. Toby, you're not wrong, man. Toby says, come on, Adam, just turn off the stream so we can rip. You know, you're not wrong. Half the time when I do a stream, the market just sits here and does nothing. And then I leave and I'm like, oh, all the fireworks go off. So I'll take your advice on that, Toby. I'll take your financial advice on that. And we'll probably wrap up the stream here. So we'll buzz around real quick. Just go over everything one more time, and then I'll leave you guys to your devices. Tomorrow, don't forget, if you're enjoying the stream, we're going to do another stream tomorrow morning at 9:15. And then we're probably going to sprinkle in a few more. Might do an after-hours stream tomorrow. I'm working out a few kinks, so we'll see. We might do another stream for you guys. And then I'm going to do probably 1 or 2 more streams in the Discord. It's going to be a very busy week, so I'm going to try to be as active as I can. So if you haven't joined the Discord, check out the link in my description. You can join the Discord. I'm going to do some exclusive streams over there as well. And also you get all our trade alerts, all the fun stuff, right? But as always, follow me on X and on YouTube. That way you guys are aware of when I'm going live. And let's do one more little roundabout here on the market. So again, looking at the SPY, this 10 o'clock high a day, you can essentially use it as your trigger. We rejected a little lower here. And technically we are making lower highs. So lower high, lower high, lower high for now. But we are respecting volatility, as I just said. And the Qs are in a tricky spot, and IWM is still respecting where it needs to right now. So far, things still edge bullishly. But for you to actually flip full bull, at least, I don't want to say on the day. I want to be careful. Flip full bull for the next 2 to 3 hours, we got to break over this 10 o'clock high. That's essentially all you need to know. Pretty simple. I'm going to keep it simple for you guys at least. For those of you interested in opens, 838 is a big level to watch, and 850 is the big one to break on the week. So currently we're just shy under that 838 spot. Actually, I really should put a line there. We're just shy of that 838 spot. I do anticipate that recovering. If the market does push bullish like I am anticipating it to, I would expect some retail excitement to come in over that 850, push us bullish on the week on open. So keep an eye on that. As it pertains to UNH, we have made lower highs consecutively. However, again, we have not broken that 10 o'clock low. That is the trigger. That number is 363.23. We actually got, did we wick it? We were off by a penny. This candle at 11:01, 363.33. This is off by a penny, so we did at least test that general area. So we'll see if that ends up actually breaking. That's going to be your trigger for a low-a-day tap. If low-a-day goes, this will go lower. It essentially is invalidated north of really the top of this range, like 368 for simplicity's sake. That's where I would look to just walk on it. I will say that the daily on this is not great. And if it does get that downward sweep, which also lines up with about the 21 EMA at the low a day, then I would definitely want to swing some. So for what it's worth, if low a day breaks and we stay under that through the end of the day, I should say, I would want to swing a position. More so if it stays under 357.20, but we can just use the low a day for now. As a benchmark. Spot or PayPal, if it retests, I should say, that downtrend, I'm interested in it once again. Now that would leave a gnarly wick on the upside here. And it would not look like a good daily candle at all. just due to the price action we've already seen. So that's to be taken into consideration. So we'll see. It's a funky one. It's a funky chart, but breaking out of this downtrend here. Again, there's technically two downtrends that are very tight together. And you see every time I try to break out, it only had 2 closes above it since I've marked it out, essentially. Yeah, only 2 closes above it. So I'd want to take the proper risk here, especially with it getting such a strong move. If I can get in down here and it doesn't look like it's going to get crazy, then I might consider a long position. Otherwise, I want to be a little careful. 2034, that's the spot to watch. Past 2034, you want to watch 2106 over 2106. This will squeeze a little bit more. So if you're bull on the U's, that's what you want to look for today. This would all tie in with retail hype. So like same thing with like open over 850. Those are the kind of things I'd be looking for. Getting a little more of a hype move today if we see the market return to a bullish stature. This level you got to watch an idea. Clean and simple. 249.60. I already told you about the 200 MA on the Qs and the 50 MA on the Qs. So you want to watch the 50 MA on the 5, the 200 MA on the 1. That's about it. I think that's everything we really talked about that pertains to the stream. Yeah. I want to just see if this, you know what, the market's probably going to just pick a direction, like Toby said, the second I end the stream, just because of how long this has been fussing around and consolidating. So we're going to go ahead and end it. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Hope you learned something, maybe made a little money, etc. Had a good time, most importantly. And with that being said, some will say you need an edge to trade. Well, I like to look at things from a different angle. That's always what you get right here on the Atomcash angle. Guys, enjoy the rest of your day. And most importantly, don't forget, some will say, no, I already said my outro. I don't know. It's already a long day. It's a long week. I don't care. I'm going to be live tomorrow at 9:15. Come check that out. And I'm out of here. I'll see you all tomorrow at 9:15 a.m. Have a great day. That was a sloppy outro. Wait. Don't leave. Wait. I got one more thing. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. It's good, I promise. Wait. Do not leave. If you're listening, pop open whatever device you're listening on. Do not leave yet. Hold on. It's very important. Hold on. I'm slow. Give me a sec. The wrong link. Don't go anywhere. Why am I fumbling so bad? Here we go. Okay. That. There's that. Go back to this. All right.
Good moo! Oh, you found your moo! Good job! Where'd that come from? Oh, wow.
All right, now we're out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. I will see you all tomorrow at 9:15.
Time has passed, and that's a wrap. You're armed with the angle and your plan of attack. While the show is at an end, your journey continues. We lit the fuse.